Yes. Welcome, everyone, to Marijuana Times Show for December 27th, 2017. I'm your host, Joe Klare. Head over to marijuanatimes.org. You can find these videos, all of them, at marijuanatimes.org, plus a lot of great writers giving you the latest in the cannabis community and industry, the latest news and opinion, everything you need at marijuanatimes.org. You can find these videos, of course, as well on our YouTube page, The Marijuana Times, and on Facebook, we're The Marijuana Times there as well. A lot of big stuff to get to today, including a story about a AAA summit in New Jersey, a recent one, and some of the ignorance about cannabis that came out of that. Also, the latest recreational sales figures out of Nevada. And then I'll play you my interview with Isaac Dietrich, the former and returned CEO of the cannabis company MassRoots, whether they're in the cannabis realm. You'll hear from him coming up here momentarily. But first, of course, I have to tell you that Marijuana Times Show is brought to you by NatureSideCannabis.com. Organic, all-natural pesticides. You don't want to be giving poisonous, harmful chemicals to your customers. You don't want them to be harmed in any way. You don't want to be using harmful chemicals and have them ingest those chemicals. You want to grow safe and poison-free. You can do that, of course, with NatureSideCannabis.com. You can also become regulatory compliant. A lot of states have different regulations now for pesticides, new and ever-changing regulations about pesticides use. If you are a cannabis cultivator, so you want to talk to the folks at NatureSideCannabis.com, they can help you become regulatory compliant. Their pesticides are already on the list of approved pesticides in places like Washington, Oregon, and Colorado. If you're a cannabis cultivator, you want to check out NatureSideCannabis.com, a proud sponsor of the Marijuana Times Show. This first story comes from marijuanatimes.org. It was written by me. Basically, there was a recent AAA summit in New Jersey, and this is one of those things where a bunch of people who don't know anything about cannabis get together to talk about cannabis and espouse their ill-informed and uninformed opinions about cannabis. This summit was no different. Let's take a Jake Nelson. He's the director of traffic safety advocacy and research for AAA. He said, quote, "This is a big deal. We're legalizing a drug for fun without really understanding how to manage the highway safety implications of it, not to mention all of the other political and social issues that come with it." Here we see a lot of the talking points that people who are against cannabis legalization come up with. The first one is an oldie but a goodie, that they're just legalizing it for fun. They just use it for fun. The people who use cannabis, they're not doing it for any other reason than they just want to get high. They're a bunch of hippies who just want to have a good time and use it recreationally or whatever. It discounts, of course, the millions and millions of people who use cannabis every single day for medical reasons, for ailments from everything from stress relief and anxiety and sleep up to people who have horrible cancers and intractable epilepsy and things like that, and everybody in between. Not to mention the fact that it's nobody's business. If you're not harming anyone else, it's no one's business what you are doing in your own home. But to discount the medical side, even for people who aren't quote-unquote medical marijuana patients, there's millions of those people. For whatever reason, they don't get a card. They don't live in a state with cards. The state they live in's medical marijuana program is too restrictive and too regulated, and they don't qualify, but they still use it for a medical reason and to relieve a medical ailment. But as I said, even if they were just doing it for fun, even if that was true, it's nobody's business. It's absolutely nobody's business. Now, maybe if they get out on the road, it becomes someone's business, but that's not what he's saying here. He's saying, "Oh, this is big. It's not a big deal if we don't legalize it because there's no problem. Everything will go on as before." And the other talking point is that we really don't understand how to manage people using cannabis, as if tens of millions of people have been using cannabis for decades now. They're on the roads, they're driving, they're next to you on the bus, they're next to you at work, they're next to you at school. Maybe they're your doctor or your lawyer or your the teacher at your kid's school or whatever. They're all around you. This notion that, well, if we legalize and everybody's going to start smoking weed, not many people smoking now because it's illegal, and we really cracked down on that. But if we legalize it, well, then we're really have to deal with people smoking marijuana and being out in society, as if they haven't been out in society for decades upon decades now. So, and it goes on a little bit later. This guy from Kansas, this state trooper from Kansas, claims that because Colorado and other places have legalized marijuana, Kansas trooper Sean Hankins, he said, "We have a lot of weed in our state thanks to Colorado. It's not a coincidence. We have increased the number of fatality crashes because the legalization of marijuana is occurring all across the country." So what he's saying is traffic fatalities have gone up this year over last year. I think he says 20% in Kansas. And it's no coincidence that's because the Colorado's legalized marijuana. When people use the words "no coincidence," it usually is. It could be a coincidence. In this case, it probably is a coincidence. In fact, I'm almost certain it's a coincidence. And there's other statistics that are cited that say, well, the number of people with cannabis in their systems is going up. We've addressed that on the show before, but I can address it again. First of all, testing is a lot more sophisticated than it used to be. And secondly, marijuana stays in your system, as people know, for up to 30 days or more, depending on your tolerance and all that. So if you smoked weed a week ago, you're not impaired. But if you take a blood test, maybe you ran a stop sign or whatever, for whatever reason, you're talking on your phone or something stupid, you ran a stop sign, you get pulled over, you got weed in your system because you smoked a joint a week ago, well, then you are part of the statistic of people driving while high. And that number goes up for the reasons I just cited. And besides the fact that maybe there are some more people using marijuana. I mean, there is a certain small segment of society that now that it's legal and now they can just go to a store and buy it, they say, hey, maybe I'll give it a shot. Studies have shown most of the increase in marijuana use comes from current smokers or people who were smoking already, and then it was legalized, they start smoking more. But for the sake of argument, let's say that there are more people using cannabis. Now, again, that will attribute to the rising numbers, on one hand, of people who have marijuana, test positive for marijuana in their system while they're driving, and traffic fatalities. In some states, traffic fatalities have gone down. Is that because of legalization? I don't think many people would argue that. Although some could argue that people are substituting marijuana for alcohol, and that may help the traffic fatality situation. But if you're not going to say, well, if they went down, it must be marijuana. Oh, they went up, it must be marijuana. There's no correlation there whatsoever. None. But you say things like, oh, well, it's no coincidence. And people think, oh, well, it's no coincidence. That's the way it is. But it's not the way it is. This next story comes from ReviewJournal.com. Nevada recreational marijuana sales soared to nearly $38 million in October. According to the State Department of Taxation, they released October figures. Recreational medical marijuana sales brought in a combined $5.8 million in tax revenue to the state in October. Total sales was the highest monthly sales total yet, topping 37.9 million. Rather, that's up from 27.7 million spent on recreational marijuana at Nevada dispensaries in September. Recreational sales in August were 33.4 million, so it was up in August, then it dipped a little bit in September, and now it's come back up and set a record for the fourth month of recreational sales in Nevada, almost 38 million. And as supply goes up, that number just continue to go up, And a lot of Nevada, as many people know, a lot of their money and the people that come to their state are tourists, and they're going to come for that reason as well. They're say maybe a lot of people who say, "Oh, I'm going to go to Vegas," go to the casinos or the hotels or see a show, and then they think, "Oh, well, they also have recreational marijuana there. That's even better. I'll go to Vegas." So as long as supply continues to go up, the sales will continue to go up for quite a while to come. Again, like I said, not only for native people of Nevada, but the millions and millions that come in every year to places like Las Vegas. I think I read something like 41% of the revenue that businesses make in Southern Nevada comes from tourism. That's a sizable chunk. So, and it can only help. There's dispensary patrons pay a 10% retail excise tax. Basically, medical marijuana dispensaries are selling the recreational weed for now in Nevada. They pay a 10% retail excise tax on recreational marijuana. More than 12.6 million of the taxes gotten so far come from the retail tax on recreational weed. So the taxes already in 4 months, $12.6 million. That is impressive. Coming up here in a second, we're going to play the interview I did with Isaac Dietrich from MassRoots. Well, thank everybody for listening. Everybody who likes and shares and comments on the show. Go find us on Apple Podcasts. Search the Marijuana Times on Apple Podcasts. Thank you to NatureSideCannabis.com, of course, for being a great sponsor of the show. Organic, all-natural pesticides, NatureSideCannabis.com. Go check them out. Continue to share these videos as we do them. We're still a relatively new show. We're getting the word out there. We're spreading the truth about cannabis, and you can help by liking and sharing and commenting on Facebook and YouTube. And find us over at marijuanatimes.org. Thanks, everybody, for listening. See you next time. And here's my interview from earlier today with Isaac Dietrich, the new and former CEO of MassRoots. Thanks, everybody. Welcome back, everybody, to the Marijuana Times show. On Skype, we have Isaac Dietrich, CEO of MassRoots. How's it going, Isaac?
Going well. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Thanks for taking the time. I know you're busy. You got a lot of stuff going on. So I want to ask you about a few things. We'll start with, a lot of people read in the news about the saga that went on at MassRoots, how you were removed as CEO and then you came back as CEO. In layman's terms, because not a lot of people are versed in the goings on with the corporate world. In layman's terms, can you, the best you can, tell us the events that led to your removal and the events that led to you coming back?
Sure. Well, I'm excited to be back to work for our shareholders, and it has been a dramatic couple of months, but it was all in the best interest of our shareholders. And really, the main contention between the board and I was over the Canaregs acquisition, which Canaregs is a great company. They have the who's who of clients out in California. Los Angeles County, Sonoma County, City of Sacramento. As well as the leading business owners out in California. And as we're going into California recreational sales beginning here within the next week or so, I felt it was in the best interest of our shareholders to make that deal happen. The board felt the acquisition price was a little too high, and as a result, I was removed as CEO. But over the past few weeks and few months, a lot of our shareholders have spoken, and they want us to aggressively pursue a California first strategy. So I was reappointed as CEO last week, and I'm glad to be back and working for our shareholders.
So obviously there's been some bumps in the road. There was a report in the Cannabis a couple weeks ago about the Denver office being locked up and shut down. How has that been resolved, and what other kind of speed bumps do you have to overcome to get MassRoots back to where it needs to be?
Well, we as a company were spending too much money for too long, and the office was a prime example of that. I think our lease was around $14,000 per month for that location, and while I was away as CEO, we were unable to make payments on it, and as a result, that lease was terminated. But I think that will end up being a good thing because that saves us a considerable amount of money every month. We're looking to relocate to a WeWork, which is much more economical. So I think it'll end up being a good thing for our shareholders.
Okay. So you mentioned the California thing. Obviously, returning as CEO, I assume you have a plan for the future of MassRoots and where you want things to go. I also understand that you have some news about blockchain technology and MassRoots moving to that area. What can you tell us about where MassRoots is headed for the future?
Yeah, well, MassRoots is exploring several ways in which blockchain can help revolutionize the cannabis industry and really help solve fundamental problems facing the industry. So back last quarter in September, we did a pre-sale for MassRoots coin. We were able to raise $545,000 for that. And that's certainly something that we're exploring. But blockchain has many different uses aside from just cryptocurrencies. So we're really excited about the seed-to-sale traceability applications, how it can help improve how MassRoots operates in terms of more efficient data storage, more efficient meta tagging. So there's a wide variety of applications that we're starting to explore. So I think you're going to see some news on that here soon.
Okay. So is there anything else, any other plans you can tell us about the direction of MassRoots? For instance, will Will you continue with social media, software, things like that, or are you going to go in a different direction?
Yeah, so we've always been a social first platform. We're actually in the middle of a redesign and revamp of our mobile apps. So that will be launching here within the next few weeks. Very excited about that. We're going to be launching some new features that our community has been asking for months now. So we're really excited about that. Obviously, aggressively scaling our market share in California ahead of recreational legalization, and as recreational legalization goes into effect, and then obviously the blockchain aspects, and really starting to develop some new and exciting technologies for the industry.
Well, it's definitely an interesting time, that's for sure. Isaac, thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and we look forward to hearing more from MassRoots in the future.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
All righty. Thanks, Isaac. Have a good day.
Bye.